How many times have you given your intimacy like a bargaining chip, believing that openness would finally earn you love? How many confessions poured out for no reason? How many tears displayed as proof of being real, only to realize that in the end, you became a book read once and left on the shelf of the predictable? Pathetic. You were taught that vulnerability creates connection, but the truth is far more ruthless. What you give without resistance is consumed without gratitude. This video is not for soft souls. It is for those ready to relearn seduction through mystery, control, and power. You are about to uncover 15 principles that separate the man who begs from the man who dominates, the man who bleeds energy through anxiety from the one who manages it like a drug, releasing small doses that ignite desire, shape emotions, and create attachment. Today, we stop begging. Today, we start ruling. And those who do not understand this will be ruled. Law 1. Protect your shadow. Only what remains hidden becomes irresistible. The moment you reveal too much, you surrender power. Mystery is what preserves influence. Niccolo Machiavelli. Are you tired of being completely transparent and still being ignored? You exposed yourself without filters. You spoke about who you are, what you feel, what hurt you, and still, they treated you as if you were ordinary. That was not bad luck. That was your error. You opened yourself as if your story were a gift, when in truth, it was a surrender. And the one who surrenders first does not inspire desire. He becomes entertainment. Out of your hunger to connect, you gave everything away. Your thoughts, your truths, your wounds, your emotions. You believed that made you authentic. In reality, you turned the map of your soul into a public road. And what is public, what is obvious, what is fully decoded loses all power of attraction. Mystery does not appear by chance. It is engineered, it is designed, and you destroyed it with every unnecessary confession, every long explanation, every attempt to clarify what should never be clarified. Because there are things that become weaker the moment they are explained. The real problem is how you were programmed. You were told that being yourself would make others value you, that authenticity was the path to love. But no one warned you that the human mind is a predator of certainty. The more predictable you become, the more disposable you are. When someone can read you like a manual, they will never open you again with desire, because nothing remains to be discovered. Your story stopped being a question and became an answer. That is why this law is not optional. Protect your shadow. Only what is hidden becomes irresistible. Your shadow is not your broken side. It is your inaccessible side, the part you suggest but never fully hand over. It appears briefly, in a sentence, in a pause, in a sustained look. The other person senses it, but can never fully possess it. Well-executed mystery is not coldness. It is a structural trap. It keeps the other person circling you mentally, replaying the little you revealed, wanting more. Practical example. You are talking to someone. Instead of explaining everything you suffered in childhood, you say one simple line. There are things that shaped who I am, but not everyone deserves to know them. Silence. Observe what happens. That sentence commands respect. It establishes boundaries, and it activates a machine in their mind. What did he live through? Why does he not say it? What is hidden there? You just created a shadow. You did not lie. You did not pretend. You simply chose not to give. And that choice elevates you. When you apply this law, your presence gains weight. You are no longer an open book. You become someone read in locked chapters. The other person stops seeing you as ordinary and begins to perceive you as symbolic. Because what is never fully understood leaves a deeper imprint. Because what is not spoken keeps vibrating in the mind. Impossible to erase. And here is the real power. You decide which parts of you enter the game. You stop exhausting yourself trying to prove your value, because your value is built in what you withhold. The shadow becomes a force field. Whoever comes close will have to earn, not consume. Whoever wants to understand you will have to stay, and whoever cannot tolerate the lack of control will leave, as they should. Law 2. Vulnerability is not given away. It is measured, like poison. Never show your wounds to someone who has not proven they deserve your blood. Carl Jung, Adapted. Have you ever been told that opening up creates stronger bonds? That showing your pain is maturity, connection, courage. And yet, every time you did it, you were left more exposed, more damaged, more broken than before. They listened, but with empty eyes. They absorbed your story, not to protect it, but to store it, to repeat it later, to twist it, to use it against you. Because here is the truth no one warns you about. Vulnerability without strategy is digging your own emotional grave with your tongue. You believed they would protect you because you opened your chest. You believed your honesty would be honored because your voice trembled when you spoke. But what you actually did was reveal the exact point where you could be bent. You exposed your red button, your open scar, your deepest need. And someone without conscience, without respect, without depth will always exploit that. The anxious soul, desperate to be understood, turns into an emotional buffet for someone who only wants control. That is the real danger. You offer your pain as a small coin of connection without checking whether the other person is capable of holding it with clean hands. And most are not. Most people want to know what hurts you, not to protect you, but to archive it, to retrieve it later. When you resist, when you ask for distance, when you demand dignity. Showing vulnerability without reading the terrain is like placing a knife in a smiling hand and trusting it will not be used. That is why this law is not optional. Vulnerability is not given freely. It is measured, like poison. This is not about pretending nothing hurts. It is about choosing when to reveal it, how much to reveal, and to whom. Vulnerability without tactics leads to blood. Tactical vulnerability, however, is high-level emotional control. Because when you reveal a crack with precision, you create connection. But when you overflow from anxiety, you create pity, or worse, contempt. The one who knows how to dose his wound controls the narrative of the bond. Real example, you do not need to unload your family trauma for someone to feel close to you. You can say something like this: I learned to stay quiet about what hurts, because when I spoke before, no one protected it. Pause. What did you do there? You revealed a crack without exposing yourself, and you activated something powerful in the other person. A desire to understand you, to earn your trust, to gain access to what you do not give easily. You did not spill yourself. You administered, like slow poison, deadly if ignored, fascinating if respected. When you apply this law, the entire dynamic shifts. You are no longer the one begging to be heard, to be understood, to be embraced for being real. You become the one who decides who is allowed to see inside. You turn into a closed temple, not an open chapel for emotional tourists. Your pain stops being exposure and becomes legend, something that is sensed, respected, feared to touch without permission. The result is brutal. The other person values you more not for what you say, but for what you choose to withhold. Because what you hold back with dignity weighs more than what others scream from need. Your wounded silence becomes magnetic. Your controlled gaze hits harder than any tearful speech, and what once made you a victim now becomes your most seductive weapon. But be careful. If this law is already opening your eyes, what comes next will shatter your ego. In Law 3, you will learn why the one who responds too quickly loses control of desire, and how to make time work for you like elegant poison. Share this with someone who overshares just to feel close. We are about to teach them how to poison contact. Law 3, Master Time. While the other waits, you expand inside their mind. Power belongs to the one who is never in a hurry. Robert Greene. Do you answer instantly? Do you feel a spike of anxiety when you do not reply right away? When you do not resolve things immediately? When you do not prove your availability in seconds? Then understand this clearly. Every urgent reply is a confession. It says your time is cheaper than theirs, that you are waiting, that you are needing, that you are willing to break your rhythm just to stay relevant. And that sentence condemns you, because desire does not bow to availability, it bows to rhythm. Your problem is simple and corrosive. You have an addiction disguised as emotional courtesy. You reply immediately. You suggest plans instantly. You give away your availability as if it were a virtue. But the one who always responds fast becomes predictable. The one who is always ready becomes usable. And what is always there stops being desired. Because the mind does not value constancy. It values what appears and disappears on its own terms. And the most dangerous part? You think you are doing the right thing. You believe instant replies are respect. You believe never making someone wait is proof of care. But the other person does not see it that way. They do not value it. They consume it. Because when someone never makes you wait, the brain quietly decides, I already have this. And the moment something is owned, the game dies. Because desire needs space, it needs distance, it needs pause. What is immediate satisfies, what is delayed seduces. That is why this law is surgical, master time. While the other waits, you grow inside their mind. Silence is not absence, it is the architecture of tension. Delay is not disinterest, it is psychological design. Make the other person wait for your replies. Make them check twice to see if you already read the message. Make them wonder whether you will answer in 1 hour or in 3. Every minute without your response plants a seed of obsession. Because emptiness is unbearable, and what is not filled is overthought. Example, someone messages you. You see it, and you do nothing. You let the message breathe. You give it oxygen. You give the other person time to create mental scenarios. Why is he not answering? Is he busy with someone else? Did I lose importance? This is not immaturity. This is emotional dominance. You are not ignoring them. You are orchestrating attention. You are allowing your absence to do the work your presence never could. When you integrate this law, everything shifts. Your time gains weight. You are no longer the available one. You become the one who appears by choice. Your presence stops being a right and becomes a privilege. The other person grows more careful, more intense, more invested, because you stopped being automatic. You stopped reacting from anxiety. You started responding from strategy. Time stops using you and starts serving you. And at the level of desire, this is devastating, because the one who controls time controls the narrative. The other person may have beauty, charisma, money, whatever you want. But if they wait for you, they think about you. If they think about you, they attach to you. And if they need you more than you need them, you already won, even before you did anything else. Law 4. Guard your truths. Mystery is a weapon of slow manipulation. The one who explains too much surrenders power. The one who suggests without revealing moves the other person's mind without them realizing it. Niccolo Machiavelli. Do you want to know why people never stay once they truly get to know you? Why after you share your stories, your traumas, your intense past, the other person slowly pulls back, cools off, disappears? Because you turned them into a spectator watching a movie they already finished. You opened your life like a public file, believing that the more you shared, the more valuable you would become. You did not understand that what is shown too early loses all emotional weight. You believed telling your truth was depth, that speaking about your pain created connection, that full exposure would touch their soul. What it really touched was their limit. Because the human mind does not desire what it fully understands, it does not obsess over what is obvious. It does not return to what was digested effortlessly. You showed your wound thinking it would create a bond. What you actually gave them was a story that ended in 5 minutes. You were intense for a moment. Then you became replaceable. And here lies the tactical error. You offer your story as a request for validation. You talk about yourself. You explain why you are the way you are. You justify your reactions. You relive your pain. All because deep inside, you fear that if you do not explain, the other person will misunderstand you, reject you, or forget you. But you achieve exactly that, because the one who reveals himself too fast communicates only one message: I need you to accept me now. And that energy has a scent. It smells like emotional weakness, like urgency, like lack of inner control. That is why this law is non-negotiable. Guard your truths. Mystery is a weapon of slow manipulation. This is not about lying. It is about choosing what to say, how much to say, and when to say it. What is not fully spoken keeps vibrating. What is hinted at but never completed leaves a deeper mark. Well-executed mystery does not confuse. It attracts, because the other person wants to know more. Because you become a story that cannot be predicted. And that is what keeps attention alive. Tactical example. You are in a deep conversation. Instead of saying, I was abandoned as a child, that is why I am insecure, you say, sometimes I struggle to trust. When someone leaves without warning, it activates something I do not always explain. Then you change the subject. What did you do? You created attention without asking for it. You activated a wound without turning it into a spectacle. You gave a clue without revealing the map. And that clue keeps circling in the other person's mind for hours, sometimes days. Because what is not fully understood repeats itself mentally. When you apply this law, your energy becomes naturally magnetic. The other person begins to read you with hunger. They analyze every word, every pause, every silence as if each were a piece of a puzzle. You are no longer interesting because of your pain. You are attractive because of your opacity. The other person starts projecting onto you because your unfinished story becomes a canvas where they paint what they want to understand. And you guide the narrative without saying anything directly. That is pure manipulation. Leading without imposing. Controlling without showing. And the greatest advantage, you stop wasting energy justifying yourself. You no longer explain why you are cold, distant, or intense, because you do not explain. You design atmospheres. You become a character that cannot be decoded in one conversation. And desire is not born from what the other person knows about you, but from what they believe they might still discover. Your truth, carefully guarded, becomes the slow fire that cooks obsession. You turn into the favorite enigma of their restless mind. But if you think this is already powerful, prepare yourself. Law 5. If there is no tension, there is no investment. What comes without struggle is discarded without guilt. Only what demands effort is remembered. Arthur Schopenhauer. Have you ever tried to do everything right? To be clear, consistent, affectionate, only to be left unseen? Did you make yourself available, open, warm, and somehow become invisible? It is time to swallow a brutal truth. It is not that they did not value you, it is that you lacked the courage to create tension. You were too easy to understand, too easy to access, too easy to obtain. And once something is easy to obtain, there is no reason to stay. Because what does not demand emotional energy never creates psychological investment. This is the fatal flaw of those who rush to please. They believe constant harmony is seductive. They believe doing everything right guarantees loyalty. They believe that being unconditional, calm, and available from day one will be rewarded with gratitude. Fatal mistake. The human mind does not work that way. Immediate peace is interpreted as comfort, and comfort, over time, smells like routine, like absence of challenge, like something that can be abandoned without consequence. Desire does not feed on safety. It feeds on tension, on ambiguity, on partial absence, and you killed it by chasing stability too soon. This is even more ruthless if you are emotionally deep, because you did not give a little, you gave everything. Long messages, full attention, constant availability, early loyalty. But you forgot the only rule the brain respects. It values what costs effort, and because you cost nothing, you became nothing. Free companionship. Understanding on demand, affection without conditions, and instead of making you special, it made you predictable, boring, replaceable. Because what does not activate emotional tension leaves no imprint. That is why this law must become doctrine inside you. If there is no tension, there is no investment. Attention is the gateway. From attention comes curiosity. From curiosity comes desire. From desire comes time, effort, attachment. This does not mean cruelty. It does not mean hostility. It means control of flow, appearing, then disappearing, giving, then stopping, saying things that open questions, looking, then cutting away, being present, then less available. Because human beings do not bond with what calms them, they bond with what moves them. And whoever fails to generate emotional oscillation loses all psychological impact. Tactical example. You are talking to someone. Everything is going smoothly. Instead of following the predictable rhythm, you break it. You stop the conversation with a line like, "I will leave you here. I would rather leave you thinking than tired of me." And you disappear. No blocking, no drama, no explanation, just a clean cut. In that cut, in that abnormal pause, in that imbalance, tension is born, an unresolved need, a desire suspended between what was going well and what suddenly vanished. And that is what anchors, not your sweetness, your interruption. When you master this law, your presence becomes addictive, not because of what you give, but because of how you control rhythm. The other person starts anticipating you, searching for signs, doubting, and inside that doubt, they invest, because they no longer know if they have you or not. You become an emotional challenge. A game governed by internal rules. The connection stops being linear and becomes dynamic. And what is dynamic is remembered, because it leaves a mark, because it activates the nervous system, because it involves risk. The result is clear and devastating. You are no longer nice. You are no longer pleasant. You are no longer attentive. You are destabilizing. And for the human unconscious, that is irresistible. Because desire does not want peace. It wants friction. It wants movement. It wants something that fractures its inner structure. And you became that. An untamed variable the other person can no longer predict. And while they try to understand you, they keep investing energy into you, without realizing they are already trapped. Law 6. Reflect. Do not reveal. Power is not in what you show, but in what you make the other person reveal without ever realizing it. Jean Baudrillard. Have you ever noticed that the more you explain yourself, the less you are understood? That the more honest you become, the faster respect disappears? And still, you keep talking, opening your story, spilling your thoughts, showing who you are, hoping that this time someone will finally value you. Here is the truth no one taught you. The one who exhausts himself trying to be seen eventually becomes invisible, and the one who observes, listens, and reflects leads without ever exposing himself. Your mistake was trying to connect through exposure. You wanted to be liked by being authentic, deep, emotionally open. But you missed one crucial truth. The other person did not come to see you. They came to see themselves. Because the most powerful element of any connection is not what you reveal about yourself, but what you make the other person discover about themselves while they are with you. And that is not achieved through confession. It is achieved through reflection, through an ambiguous presence that absorbs without offering itself. That allows the other person to project, while you preserve your essence in strategic silence. This is the structural flaw of people who feel deeply. They want to be understood more than they want to understand. They want to speak more than they want to listen. They want recognition, validation, acceptance, and that makes them too present, too explained, too visible, and what is constantly visible wears out. Meanwhile, the one who listens calmly, who does not rush to reply, who does not hurry to explain who he is, creates in the other person a quiet inner anxiety that closely resembles attachment. The law is brutally precise. Reflect. Do not reveal. Your value is not in telling your story. It is in reading the other person's story without having to tell yours. Because when you make someone open up to you while you give only fragments, the balance shifts. The other person begins to associate your presence with relief, with understanding, with intimacy, without knowing why. They believe they know you. In reality, all you did was reflect their own thoughts back to them with a steady gaze and a measured response. That is not distance, that is direction. Example: you are in the middle of an emotional conversation. Instead of saying, "I went through that too," you respond with, "I understand what you are saying and how you handled it." You did not share your story, you guided theirs. You held a clean mirror in which they looked at themselves, exposed themselves, unraveled themselves, and while they did, you remained intact, centered, in control. They feel deeply understood, yet they have opened themselves completely in front of someone who remains an enigma. When you execute this law with precision, your energy becomes a vortex. People feel heard with you, yet know almost nothing about you. They call you deep, even though all you did was ask the right questions. And while they empty themselves, you fill yourself with power. Because the one who knows more commands more. The one who reveals less bleeds less. And the one who becomes a mirror turns into a sacred space, not because he is special, but because he allows the other person to see themselves more clearly than anywhere else. This completely transforms the dynamic. You are no longer the one begging to be understood. You become the one others seek to feel understood. You are no longer the one speaking for empathy. You remain mysterious, while activating in the other a false sense of deep connection. And while they believe they are bonding with you, what they are actually doing is bonding with themselves projected onto you. But you already won. You guided the narrative without revealing your script, and that is where dominance begins. Because when someone opens up, exposes themselves, gives themselves to you without you giving anything in return, they are already trapped. Not because of what you gave them, but because of everything they gave you without receiving the same price back. There is no manipulation cleaner than reflection, and there is no presence more seductive than one that listens without losing itself, provokes without revealing itself, and holds space without begging. That is power. That is silent emotional dominance. That is elite level play. Law 7. Silence is a sonic trap. Use it to dominate without saying a word. Words are camouflage. Silence is the true language of power. Martin Heidegger. Have you ever felt that compulsive urge to explain yourself? To fill every gap? To speak so you are not misunderstood? To justify every gesture, every delay, every look with words? That inner anxiety that pushes you to fill every silence as if something valuable will be lost if you do not clarify, if you do not speak, if you do not respond immediately. And do you know what that behavior really did? It made you predictable, it made you noisy, and it made you weak. Because the one who cannot tolerate silence has already lost the psychological war before the first move is even made. Those obsessed with communicating properly fail to understand one brutal truth. Silence is the language that most destabilizes the insecure. And you, believing that constant honesty created intimacy, gave away far too much. You wanted the other person to feel safe with you, when in reality you handed them complete control. Because the one who talks constantly, who explains everything, who cannot survive 5 seconds of pause, is announcing one thing very clearly: I need to be understood. And the moment you need to be understood, you have already lowered your weapons. The real problem is not words themselves, it is how you use them. You release words like a shield, like a peace treaty, like a tool to control the situation so the other person does not leave, so they stay. But in that attempt, you destroy your ability to create impact. Because when everything is said, nothing has weight. Because when you speak to avoid discomfort, you reveal that discomfort controls you. And the moment the other person senses that, they grow taller. This is where the law enters with full force. Silence is a sound trap. Use it to dominate without speaking. Silence, when executed correctly, is not indifference. It is strategy. It is uncomfortable emptiness. It is a calculated pause, a psychological space the other person feels compelled to fill with anxiety, with doubt, with guilt, with fantasies. Silence is the only territory where the other person exposes who they really are without you asking a single question. The one who cannot endure it betrays himself. The one who controls it governs. Example: someone confronts you aggressively or from insecurity. Why did you take so long to reply? Your mistake would be to justify yourself, to explain, to calm them with reasons. Your master move is simpler and far more powerful. You hold eye contact, you pause, you say nothing, you let a faint smile appear, then you change the subject. In that silence, the other person implodes. They expected noise, they craved a reaction, they wanted reassurance or defense, and you gave them calm weight instead. That is not passivity. That is dominance in its purest form. When you apply this law, your presence becomes heavy, not because of what you say, but because of what people feel around you. People begin to measure their words with you. They become cautious. They think before they speak. And that gives you power. Because now they are not speaking to express themselves, they are speaking to keep you. Silence stops being absence and becomes structure. Your voice gains gravity because it is no longer constant. Every word becomes an event. The transformation is complete. You are no longer the one begging to be understood. You are the one who decides when silence ends. You are no longer the one explaining himself to avoid loss. You are the one who remains quiet and watches the other person unravel. Because the more the other person needs to know what you think, the deeper they sink into your frame. You no longer need to convince. You do not need to defend. You do not need to seduce. You hold the silence, and the silence works for you. This is where true psychological power is born. Not through lies, not through manipulation of words, but by letting the other person dissolve under the pressure of not being able to read you, of having to guess, of having to imagine what you think, what you feel, what you will do next. Inside the mental fog you create, they get lost, and you, silent and still, watch them surrender without firing a single word. This is how dominance is built from emptiness. This is how you win without raising your voice. This is how you control without speaking. Law 8. The body is never given from need. It is governed like a trophy. Whoever offers their body to be loved will be used and then erased. Michel Foucault, reinterpreted. Have you ever believed that giving yourself physically would deepen the bond? That surrendering your body was proof of connection, of trust, of something real, and yet, after sex, you felt emptier, more alone, more replaceable. Because what you offered as a bridge was received as a resource.